So, I have no reason as to why I haven't uploaded for so long. The only excuse I have really is, life gets busy. Working, making films, playing Witcher 3, playing Crusader Kings 2. YouTube just kind of ended up on the back burner. Other than that, this is a video I've been meaning to make for so long. But for the reasons I just said, I never got round to making it. So today, I am going to do a video on the most recent series of Doctor Who. Sup people in the internet web stuff, and welcome back to my channel. God, I've missed your face. Now, I've talked about Doctor Who on this channel before. Like, in a video I've done in the past, I went hell for leather in why I thought Chris Chibnall was an awful choice as a showrunner. And I don't want to say I told you so, but I kinda did. I'm not gonna hover too long on that though. Instead, I'm going to delve into how I'd readjust the season, how I'd rewrite a couple of things, just to make it a little bit more appealing. So this is all personal. This is how I'd make it more appealing for me. And surprisingly, a few tweaks and I'd have been totally on board with it. The main thing I feel like it needed was an overarching storyline. I'm paraphrasing here, but Chibnall effectively said in interviews that he wanted to dumb down the show and remove the overarching storyline in order to make it easier for one-time viewers, just something they could click on and watch. A way for people to dip in and out of the season and not miss anything important. It was basically a clever way of gaining views and not having to retain them. This doesn't hold up well in my opinion. It either feels like writer ineptitude or laziness. I always seem to go back to Russell T Davies when I talk about Doctor Who, and there is good reason for that. With minimal budget and the pressure of bringing Doctor Who back into the mainstream, he managed to write a compelling season which you could dip in and out of, whilst also having an overarching story. A major fault of not doing this, not having an overarching story, is there's no real payoff to watching the season. With Chibnall, they're just a bunch of unconnected stories, which all have countdowns in them. Because God, does Chibnall like a countdown. So much so that I've coined the phrase soft countdown in reference to Chibnall's writing. A soft countdown is when you don't have an obvious countdown within the story, but there's still a race there. That there's still a time constraint in which they have to do something. And he seems obsessed with this idea. Usually countdowns are there to create drama and tension, and it's just like, I can't think of a compelling enough story, so I'm just gonna throw in these countdowns to try and create some tension and drama. And it's not the first time he's done this. He did this a lot when he was just writing a few episodes throughout Stephen Moffat and Russell T Davies' era. Every episode he wrote before he became showrunner had a blatant countdown in it. And now he's implemented soft countdowns and blatant countdowns. However, we should probably get to the meat of this video. What would be that major change I'd make to the season that would make it more appealing to me? Well, that's simple. Make the Dalek that appeared in the New Year's episode the overarching story. Within that New Year's episode, we were introduced to a Dalek that had been forming and molding itself back together in order to be the big bad the Doctor had to face at the end of the season. We didn't get to see any of that on screen. It was just done through exposition at the start of that episode. It's a solid idea and concept. It's a big villain, we all know, and it's the enemy of the Doctor. We all know that the Time Lords and the Daleks are big bad enemies. But just throwing it in at the end of the season with no build-up, it cheapens it. Now, imagine if through the season we took a trick out of Stephen Moffat's book, and all the places on Earth that the Doctor visits, the issues that are happening there, the big evil things that the Doctor has to fight, what if because of some radiation going out or some signal that this Dalek body is sending off. That's what's causing the issues at that time. That's what's causing the issues within the time continuum. So the Doctor fixes the problems, but doesn't fix the solution, because she is unaware of what the solution is. She just thinks that this has to happen because it's already happened. You know, time, big ball, wibbly wobbly, etc. She just ignores the fact that there is this big brooding Dalek presence that is causing all of this mayhem. And as the Doctor and her companions leave for the next adventure and the TARDIS warps away, we see maybe a bit of the Dalek there, or just an ominous presence, maybe even like a motif for music coming through. The audience are intrigued. You're invested in what this could be. You don't find out all the information, you're just trying to throw it together. It creates word of mouth. And then you get to the New Year's episode and you find out what it is. You have a payoff. You find out that this thing which has been causing the Doctor so many issues through the season is in fact her greatest enemy. The Daleks. A true enemy. Something that's been waiting and biding its time. Something which has realised that the Doctor is at her weakest. She's come into this world after a tough regeneration. She doesn't know who she is, where she fits in the world, because she's never been a woman before. Suddenly you're moving the idea of the Doctor being a woman for the first time and making it part of the story, part of the character development, of which there was none in this season. The Doctor jumped around from archetype to archetype. You just had bits of all the old Doctors thrown in and we had nothing new. God. We then have a way to see Jodie Whittaker's acting ability, because you'd be able to hark back to Chris Eccleston's issue with the Daleks. Because at the end of the day, the Doctor is still struggling with the Time War. Yes, the Time Lords may be alive, but that doesn't solve PTSD. You'd still have this hatred, you'd still have the issues, and that could really be a compelling story. Instead of trying to move this weird love plot in of two characters you've never met before, or instead of trying to build the companions up more, have this episode entirely focused on the Doctor finding herself and fighting this Dalek. In my opinion, that simple change would have made the season much more compelling, it would have made it more cohesive, and we would have had a better Doctor. Because I loved the way that Jodie Whittaker performed as the Doctor, but the way she was written and the direction she was given was all over the place. As I said, it was just bits of old Doctors thrown into one. It's like, people love David Tennant, let's bring a bit of him in. They love that thing that Matt Smith did. He loved a good catchphrase, let's bring that in. The story itself would be more focused on the Doctor trying to get some more closure, trying to think about this more logically, but still finding that she hates the Daleks. She can't stand them. You'd have this guttural hatred, and we'd get to see that part of Jodie Whittaker's Doctor, instead of this weird 50-50 of New Who and a kid show. We'd have a fight of the two constant survivors of the universe, the Doctor against the Dalek. And that would have been a really interesting end episode, because you would have built to it through the whole of the season and then had a good payoff at the end. And hell, if the Doctor lost, if the Dalek escapes again, then you've suddenly got a compelling thing to come back to in the next season. Because at the minute, there's nothing to go back to. There's no overarching story. There's just more little stories and no real character development from the Doctor. Which, to be fair, at this point, we watch for the Doctor. We don't watch for the companions anymore. It's all about the Doctor. I'm afraid that if this season bombs again, because it didn't do well, we may not have another female Doctor. And the most logical solution I have is to get a female showrunner. Get a woman to write for a woman. Because having a man who wrote the Cyberwoman write for the first female Doctor It's baffling to me. So what do you think? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you reckon Chibnall actually rocked this season? Hell, you excited or terrified for the next season? I know what I am. Why not leave a comment down below or check me out on Twitter and we'll have a debate on that, because I'd love to hear more opinions about this. I've got such negative views on this season, and it's so annoying when such a simple fix could have made it so much better. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Hopefully I will be making more videos soon, but at the end of the day, who knows? Thank you again, and I shall see you again soon. Go away, Moth.